So in the production and writing of No Boys Allowed, and more specifically the intro that me and my partner made, it was really, really important to us, to both of us, to make sure that this theme of being young and queer in an unaccepting world was very well represented. At its core, this is a film that's made by queer kids for queer kids about queer kids. And so I think that this both tackles the question of what audience we're going for and what social message we're trying to put out. Representation-wise, I think it's blatantly clear that it is about a queer young girl. And I found it really interesting in the costuming and the choice of actor. We used my little sister, who has always had short hair. Like, for the last few years, she's kept her hair really short, which is a stereotype of typically more masculine girls, which could be playing into an LGBT stereotype. And so I really liked the duality of having such a blatant stereotype be representing a bold message. And what I mean by bold message is I feel as if right now in the political climate that I'm living in, especially being an American and a Floridian, it's not very often that you see queer kids represented at this young of an age. Our actors and actresses were 13 and 14. They were in 8th grade. So this is typically a lot younger. I think the youngest you'll see is maybe you can see high school kids being represented as queer in media. So I felt like it was really important to make sure that that age factor was in, because it makes some people uncomfortable. And so that's why me and my partner felt like it was really important to get it in. As for some of the actual elements rather than thematic concerns, I felt like there were little pointers that kind of indicated what was more important to my partner and I. So, for instance, the sticky notes. The title was written on a sticky note, which is no coincidence. The library that we chose to film at was actually amazing. It's just a few minutes away from our local high school where we go to. So the sticky notes were filled with different messages. There were some that were more religious, some political, and a lot that actually had to do directly with being LGBT. Even if it was just like things that were written sarcastically, like putting "you're gay" on someone else's sticky note, I felt like it was really important to show the way that queer kids are interacting with their environment and how bullies are interacting with queer kids in their environment. I also felt like it was just visually a good representation, because it is rainbow, and the representative of the gay community is the rainbow flag, which I have behind me. Another thing that I felt was important was the music choice. Once again, I kind of had that duality going where it's a male singing, which challenges the convention of, you see a girl character, you expect it to be about the teen girl center of focus, but it's still singing kind of lyrics that make you think. It's saying, "I wish you were a girl," etc. "I feel, weird about this." And it also has that coming of age kind of indie sound. So if you're watching it from a surface level, you'll say, "Oh, this is a coming of age movie." And if you read deeper into the lyrics, you'll see that it's actually a queer movie that has a little bit more of a social significance to it. I touched on this briefly, but just to make sure that it's kind of revisited, the audience aspect of this film was, I think, very, very intentional and direct between me and my partner. This film is made for queer kids. As I said, it's a film by queer kids, intended to be viewed by queer kids, and it is about queer kids. However, it is kind of a complex thing to talk about because it can be seen as a politically motivated film. It's not intended to be. It's purely just a representation of an experience. But it can be taken in that aspect, and that's something we have to acknowledge, especially in terms of marketing this film. As for marketing more directly, I think that this film is something that will be marketed as exactly what it is. A story, no more, no less. We definitely would be using a lot of social media such as TikTok, Instagram, just to advertise for the film in spaces where youth, especially those that feel like they don't fit in, will be around. And, you know, it will have the normal conventions of a coming of age indie film, but at the same time with the added layer of social unconventionalism that can't really be seen in a lot of films, particularly those before this decade. As a piece of media, this film would definitely be more leaning towards streaming services rather than in theater and physical copies of media. I think that if we're trying to go for a younger audience, which we are, that it needs to be digitally focused in order to capture that group